Welcome to another episode of Kiss My Assets.
The transparency, the openness, the communication is more than you could expect. I'm sold.
Don't let the fact that you don't know something or don't know enough about something hold you back.
I knew I wanted to invest. What better way to invest than to invest in what I already know that I love, which is real estate.
It was initially the 12% return, but it quickly turned into the people.
So it's another investor stories on our Kiss My Assets podcast. We have Jameson, our co-founder, with our very lovely valued investor, Ted Araya.
Thank you.
And I'm Heather in investor relations. And so I think if anyone's been on our site, they probably recognize your face.
Oh,
because you have a wonderful review from your video, and yes.
Yeah, we got you on video and we've used it multiple times.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
And
Thank
I
you.
mean, not only because your beautiful child is in the video. I mean, you.
that was a fun day.
Yeah.
That was a fun morning.
Yeah, because that
Yes.
was at our central event, I think, and that's one thing. I think you come to our events. Which
Correct.
I appreciate because I have to plan those.
Yeah, it's beautiful that you guys have these events, and that was my first one bringing just my son and I,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was a great. Even though he's so young, I want him to experience,
Yeah.
meet the team, understand where investing goes, how far it can take you, and so thank you guys for allowing him to be interviewed that day.
Yeah.
That was very fun.
And I've seen Ted around at different investor meetings that I go to and different events around town. And he's a younger guy, but I've always been, it's fun to go there. And I don't know anybody. And then I see him like, hey, we know each other. But I really like his mindset, and excited to dive into some of some of that today with other folks who are young. I mean, you're young, you have young kids, you're making big decisions like, hey, can we maybe upgrade our home or do we invest? And
Right.
that's real life. And so I think all of us can learn from his mindset, kind of what he brought him to that point. And so excited to get to know you a bit more.
Yeah, and thank you both for having me. It's that mantra of iron sharpens iron, right? So every time I see Jameson out, I'm always picking his brain, even if it's a social gathering. But there's so much more I want to learn and so much added value, and then paying it forward, friends, family, people in the community. And like I mentioned to you earlier, we're both Phoenicians. and
Native.
so
This is a big deal.
This
This
is
is. I
huge.
just want to point out
and rival
native.
high schools.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, but we are friends now.
We're friends.
We have
We're
bridged the
friends.
gap.
But
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for what you guys do, and especially as you become a parent and then you become impactful in the community.
Yeah.
The questions always come up: how do you do it, or what are you doing? Why do you esteem for what you're doing? And I have people like you in my corner. I have a company like Neighborhood Ventures where I can continuously invest, and we're very humbled and gracious from it.
Yeah, well, and let's go back a little bit. Tell me kind of some of the early years of your life that led you in the entrepreneurial investor direction. If you think back of some of those influences or impacts.
Definitely. Great question. And so I'm the youngest of four, first generation. My family is from Ethiopia. My parents worked hard. I worked 2 jobs. We're always there, but they were very entrepreneurial as we've got older. And so they went from cleaning offices and cleaning buildings to having their own cleaning business. And me being the youngest, it really clicked in with me where it was, have a great W-2, great career, go to school, check all the boxes, but also have that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
And it allowed me over the years to go to college, go to grad school at ASU, stay here in the city, really engage with my community, with my parents.
I love that.
And over the years, I started realizing, okay, real estate, I saw the power of it, and the power and the essence of, I bought my first home when I moved out of my parents' house. From there, it was slowly, okay, buy another piece of property. Along the way, make mistakes. Along the way, falling forward per se, rather than falling back, but falling forward. And it allowed me to, overcome various markets. And for years, I got, Heather, you and I spoke offline about crowdfunding.
Yeah.
So I was big already in crowdfunding, watching the legal ramifications. And I said, well, there's all these buildings and all this real estate that Ted Araya on his own can't do. Right. And I wasn't comfortable, even though I had all this backing of a community and things like that. Group crowdfunding and touching other people's money wasn't my thing. And so long story short, you take the roots of this entrepreneurial spirit, you take all these great laws changing and impacts coming from a crowdfund standpoint. And that's what led me to Neighborhood Ventures. And it's not so much taking my own personal assets and investing it by project or ultimately by all the projects that are going to be coming, but it allowed me to now take that wealth of information, not just for myself, not just for my kids who are young, but also now when I have conversations with people, Jameson, I'm big on taking away excuses. So now when I talk to people and I say, well, you can invest in these properties. Well, I don't have the money. Well, this is the limit you could start with. Oh, okay, well, I don't know anything about it. Well, here's a website that has all the information. Well, and so you guys have done that. And my goal now is to, Jameson, I think I emailed you 3 weeks ago. I think it was like evening, if I remember. I put my kids down. They're 2 and 11 months. And I said, hey, Jameson, I really need to pick your brain because I've done a lot of things in real estate. I haven't really done multifamily. Intimidation, resources, information, whatever it is, somebody that's doing it. And so I know I gave you a long-winded answer, but it starts at a young age of saying, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I also want to do it correctly with people who have done it before me. Yeah. And then ultimately, you don't have to go with the flow. I always say, I like the quote of be the flow, don't go with the flow. And so you guys have given us that platform to do that. So I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't know that you're basically first generation, but it's amazing to see the difference in perspective of first generation Americans and knowing that what their parents sacrificed and did and where they came from versus the opportunities we have here. My roommate at Goldman in New York is first generation Korean, and he was the hardest working guy. And he said because he knew everything his parents did to get him to the U.S., they sacrificed so much. He had no choice, but failure was not an option. Right. And that's the way he lived. So it's really, I'm not surprised just given that your mentality. And then as you talked a little bit about your story, so you got what I want to ask, what was your degree in? And then I think you said you did a post bachelor's degree as well. And then also wanted to ask, what was your first real estate transaction? What was that thing that got you over the line?
Definitely. No, it's I smile about the second part of the question. The first part I went to ASU, Arizona State. My undergrad was in marketing. I loved business. I loved, accounting, finance. Marketing stuck with me because no matter what career path, I knew there was a certain aspect of branding and advertising to it. Went into contracting work, took 2 years, traveled, did my training, went back to get my MBA. And that MBA, the master's degree, is in applied leadership and management on a global scale. So went into finance, went into the contracting world with the government, worked my way, took this brick by brick approach, the stepping stairs approach. And then my first transaction was post undergrad. I was 21 years old. Market was soaring. So we're talking 2006. Yeah. And I moved out of my parents' home and I didn't want to rent at the time, right? The old school mentality, you want to buy. Market was red hot. Bought what I could afford on paper. It was a couple $100,000. I knew financially what I could afford. Bought a townhouse. Market crashed like a year and a half later. And so that's why I was laughing earlier. And so that was a big wake up call. Yeah. But amid chaos, there's opportunity. And that's when Jamison and I started saying, okay, I watched all my neighbors move. They cut, foreclosed, short sold. They were out. But then I said, you know what? There's opportunity amongst this. I'm going to take my time. I knew my mortgage was fairly cheap compared to renting at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm not going anywhere. I'm single. Bought the one next door. Yeah. And then slowly but surely started investing overseas. There were some properties. And this is important because a lot of times people say, man, it's not that people are dumb or lazy or whatever. It's just when the opportunities presented themselves, I was always ready.
Yeah. Well, I think you're really thoughtful in your decisions. You didn't panic. I would be a panicker. I'd be like, it's on fire. But you really stop and thought about it. But where's the opportunity in this? I'm going to take a breath. I admire that.
Right. No, I appreciate that. It's either panic or reorganize your thoughts. And it happens as a parent now. I deal with that, and it's like you even get calmer because if I get worked up, my kids will get worked up.
This is the truest sense. They will mimic exactly. If you bring it down, so will they. Yeah.
And the beauty of the market, the way it was, at the time I was in grad school, as everything was sorting itself out, I didn't have as much capital. I wasn't as knowledgeable about credit as I am now. Hindsight 2020, what I should have done was bought my whole building, because the units were going really cheap, right? But no one had the wherewithal or had the assets or the opportunity. The stars weren't aligning. But now, given today's market and over the years with these deals, is you start asking yourself, okay, is this a cash flow opportunity? Because for me, I'm big on financial literacy, and everybody has different vices. Some people want to make money to own the big house, drive the dream cars. For me, it buys me time.
That is right there. Money buys you time.
Money buys you time. And when you're able to own assets that bring in residual income on a level, hopefully one day, like Neighborhood Ventures, it allows you to go to doctor's appointments, to go to golf, go play golf. Jameson off
to be really present with your children.
To be present with your children.
Yeah.
To do things like this in the middle of a work week.
Yeah.
And so I would say there's so much added value. And then without knowing it, you are a leader in your community. Next thing you know, you're a role model, whether you want to be or not. And the final stickler is you're literally lifting as you climb. Because when I reach out to Jamison to gain more information, humbly, I'm taking that information and I'm sharing it with the world.
And you teach financial literacy, right, to college students. This
Correct.
is a hero's undertaking.
Correct.
And yes.
It's a passion of mine. One day I want to get into education. University is great. GCU is the university. Grand Canyon University has offered me opportunities to teach it. And it's a passion project.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about it because, a smart person learns from their mistakes. And I say a sharp person learns from other people's. So I like to share knowledge and trade stories with the students.
Yeah.
And how do you think about the balance between needing to work, needing to have, a steady income versus having the time that you want? All of us, I'm thinking of my friend who's 20 years old at GCU, and he's like wanting to be done with school and just, snowboard all the time. So how do you think about that? What do you recommend for others? And are you still working besides the GCU? Do you still have that government job as well? And it's how's that all work?
Yeah, I do. So in May, I'll be there 20 years. So time flew. And I'm like, you know what? I need to get to a certain point where I've been doing this for 20 years, but I'm able to balance all of my outside activities. Luckily, the GCU is on call. I go, I speak to the students. They can really relate. It's a give and take. I'm learning a lot as I teach. But I would tell people from a time point, obviously we live in a generation that's coming that's all about passion and follow your goals and dreams. That's great. But self-reflection is everything. And so I think a lot of times when you get into a room, Jameson, you know this pretty well, and I'm sure you do as well, Heather, is what are people's end goals? Why are they working so hard? What's the money going to do? Yeah. Because, you learn people actually do make enough money, right? We do have to cut back or we have to do certain things. Yeah. But are you managing the money you make? Right. And so people say, that's an aha moment. And they're like, but if you really can't control your time, because there's two ways to look at it. You've got the guy who doesn't make enough, that works 2 jobs here, that never has time. But then you also got the executive up here that all he does is work. Yeah. And he can't even spend the money he's making. And so I say as with everything, the textbook answer is find balance. Yeah. And so it sounds, somebody's watching this at home might think, oh, it's easy for this guy to say or for them to discuss, but it truly is reverse engineer your perspective. So 95% of people, Jameson, let's take you for an example. You want to buy a building that hopefully you can offer to me as an investor. We work that way. But the 2 to 3% elite, they reverse engineer their goals. So they already see the building, they see what investors are going to be available, and they work backwards. And the clarity allows you to get further. And so hopefully, Jameson, with that approach of reverse engineering with their time, whether it's a 20-year-old student at GCU or a new father trying to balance everything in life, it does come down to time and realizing what self-reflection on priority.
Yeah. And I think that's where, your example, you've put in 20 years. That's, to some younger folks that might, 20-year-olds, that might seem, I never
it comes so fast.
20 years. right?
Yeah. Just so
Um,
they know.
It does.
Only the last few years have I started to feel a little bit more less stressed financially, partly because of my psyche. But you know, I had to work 80 hours a week at a investment bank, and it was dog hours, you know. And then you finally get the weekend, and you get a text or an email that night, and it says, "So, hey, sorry guys, you got to work this weekend too." It's like
I'd be like, I've
over
died. I'm
and
sorry.
over again.
Jameson who?
Jameson who?
And I feel like it's important to not shy away from those 20 year old years, to go work hard, go all in on stuff, try different things, but don't shy away from working hard, whether that's working on side projects, whether it's if you can lock down a job that can pay you. The beautiful thing is you're done every day at 5, which a lot of jobs you're not, but you're done every day at 5. You can go and do a lot of stuff on the weekends and nights to start
I
building
walk
that
out
up.
the door at 5 here.
Yeah.
And I love this job, but I walk out the door
Right,
at 5.
right.
And you can have a great life there.
Yeah.
But I always I like that the 20s are for learning. And I'm not sure what the 30s are for, but your 40s are for earning.
Yes.
Right. The 20s and 30s are for learning, but the 40s are for learning, and not to get too caught up in a certain outcome, but just to be. I like how you talked about the flow, but instead of go with the flow, be the flow.
Right.
Yeah.
But you also can't force stuff, and I
feel like that's been the biggest lesson of my 40s.
and you know, and you guys are bringing up, and you're right. The enjoyment is in the process, not the end result.
Yep.
Because you get to that end result, what's going to happen? You're going to be sitting in Mexico and Dominican Republic just twiddling your thumbs. Like, I'm one of those guys that can go on vacation for 3-4 days, and then I'm good.
You've got things to do.
Even then, by like the second day, my wife will tell you, my parents will tell you, I'm starting to get antsy.
Yeah.
That's where's the iPad, where's the phone? And you bring up so many gems, and Heather, you as well, where if people don't realize, like, hey, you have to put in the work, because people will ask.
Well, your knees are still good.
Yeah,
Dude, in your 20s and 30s.
While your mind's sharp, you're young.
You have energy.
Yeah, it's people ask, how do you do it? Like,
Yeah.
there's a secret. How do you do marketing? How do you do real estate? How do you do finance? How do you know people like Jameson? And it's like, you've got to put in the work. You know, how did you get Ted on the podcast and other people can't? It's because people have to put in the work. You have to believe in the product.
Yeah.
I think we live in a world of, social media is a great thing, but it's also Instagram, for example. I utilize it, 10 to 15 second snippets.
Yeah.
We show our highlights. There's a lot of deals that don't get done. There's a lot of behind the scenes of the late nights.
Yes.
You put your dog away, you put your kids away. People don't see that. And I think we need to show it, because to your point, Jameson, if you're not willing to do the education, if you're not willing to, I like to call it self-teach, if you're not really with the access of Google and your YouTube, and of course, consider the source. But if you're not willing to actually do the homework, and you've got amazing resources all around you.
Yeah, that's one thing that I believe is you can learn anything today. You just have to have the passion, curiosity to find it. But if you do, if you have that passion, you can learn multifamily investing. We put out so much content.
Yes.
That
that I'm really proud of.
Across
Yeah.
videos,
Yeah,
articles.
Helps me a lot.
And
It does.
yeah, and you're a student of all things investing. But we're so lucky to be in a time where if you really want to learn something, you can dive in. And people need to realize that the smart money going forward is people who want to invest on their own, and they don't have a person in a suit who they pay a fee to invest for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Your folks your age, my age, all of our age and down, they want to invest on their own, and they're in the financial advisory industry is seeing this.
Yeah.
The older folks kind of relied on someone to do that, and we're saying no. The information's there, so I'm going to go find it on my own, and then I'm going to put my money where I want to put it. And it's a great opportunity to go find where are your passions and align your passions with investments. And I think that your example of having done that, of course, real estate, we're biased to.
Right,
and we're going to a pitch event in the next few days, hearing some startup companies that are looking for capital, and Ted and I will be at that too. So we're looking at different things, but Why do you like real estate in particular? What pulls you into that?
Great question. It so many. So the fact that I feel recession proof.
Mhm.
I think it's a tangible asset. The cash flow recovers fast out of cycles. Something legacy, right? So that's something that's very
I love
important.
that.
Legacy,
Mhm.
and so something you can hand off to your kids, something that you can hand off to a loved one, whomever. The taxable advantages. The ability to compound, because brick by brick, right? We're talking
Yeah.
education, we're talking opportunities, but you're laying these bricks. Next thing you know, you turn around and you have a wall.
Yeah.
We live in a world where everybody wants to live in this elevator world where we'll get to the top floor.
Mm-mm.
But with real estate, you could take the stairs.
Yeah. Some discipline, some patience,
discipline,
and then
definitely.
yeah.
And I think you get around the right people, the projects get bigger. The added value of people like ourselves to a project grow over time.
Yep.
But business is great to invest in. People are great to invest in. There's so many different things you can invest in. But a real estate, an asset over time, market could crash tomorrow. But if you've got one of, Jameson and Neighborhood Ventures buildings, the cash flow from that allows it to sustain. So you really haven't lost till you sold. And by that point, you're so far gone mentally on real estate that you realize, okay, I'll 1031 over here. I will hold a little bit longer over there. And so, yeah, that alone's its own podcast. That good question.
We bought a few buildings from people who had owned the buildings for 35, 40 years.
Mhm.
And they had gone through multiple cycles of when property values go down, and they just held the building.
Yeah.
They just continued to collect rent.
It's just chilling.
And
Pretty
then,
good.
so everyone else is doing this, and they're just doing this. And then 40 years, let's go ahead and sell the building.
Yeah, a nice little
When the time is
payday.
right.
Yeah.
You can't do that with other assets, but I think those are great points. I have one other question. If you were to go back to, Ted at ASU, your freshman, sophomore year, give him some advice, what advice would you give that kind of up and coming college student?
Yeah, I would sit myself down and say, look, these are your options. These are the avenues. And say, okay, invest in yourself from an education. That's time. Financially, don't think the single family home is the home run home. That's where you need to go. Now, I would say, look, buy a duplex, buy a triplex, live in one, rent out the other two, right? People call it a hack, but it's just the truth. And then I would say, be a little bit more aggressive. Don't be, unfortunately, the timing of the 06-07 crash, which happens once in a lifetime per se, that would have I think it would have even fueled me more like it did, because at that point I'd be holding a triplex saying, all right, let's sustain for a little bit. I bought what I could afford and let's scale. But to finalize that answer, it's really bet on yourself, because when I say bet on yourself, you're putting in the work, you're educating yourself, you're surrounded by like-minded individuals that have wisdom, and then, keep the tunnel vision. We live in a world of distraction. We've got these things
I can find
called
all of
cell
them.
phones.
Yes.
And easily we can get distracted. It happens to all of us. It happens to us throughout the day. Keep the tunnel vision and say, you know what, as you accumulate wealth or as you build your empire, you stop and realize there's not a lot of stuff you truly want. And I'll talk to people in that category, and they say you buy memories over materialism.
Yes.
You have that your gut tells you, oh, I can afford that quad, but I'm going to rent it. I can afford that cabin, but how often am I going to use it? And that's what I would just remind myself, keep chasing memories.
Love that.
Yeah. So it's just, there's so much. And that's why, to bring it full circle, is I'm big on working with the youth, because they tend to see you and they're like, man, Jameson, like, you're approachable. So I can, like I said, I reach out to Jameson so much, and Jameson will reach out to me if you need something, and we'll talk. And it's like, you want to stay humble. You want to stay hungry.
Yeah.
You want to be kind, because at the end of the day, are people going to remember me as Ted Araya, this successful investor? Or they're going to say, well, this guy picked up the phone. This guy cared. This guy connected me with Jameson, connected me with Heather. And so I would just, that's the last part of that. I would remind myself to stay hungry and stay humble.